Oh, me. Oh, my. Me, oh, my. Not a happy boy anymore. I was a happy boy. I was a happy boy. I'm not a happy boy no more, though. Sadly, I went to take a look at that space I was so excited about last week. I was so excited. I was like, yes, this is the space for Silicon Dojo. And then I went and I saw it again today. And, yeah, it's not going to be the place for Silicon Dojo. So we went there. It's a nice big room. Nice big room. Not as big as I thought, though. Not as big as I thought. It was only 700 square feet. I thought it was 1,000 square feet. That's one thing where the brain can really screw with you. So it was only 700 square feet, but it's big, it's nice, it's big, it's wide. Anyways, I went there and I was taking a look at it. And then as I'm sitting there taking a look at it, boom, 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 boom. There was like a music studio that is also in the building. And I had heard this kind of thing last time I was there, but I thought it might be a one-off. And then I'm sitting there in this nice big room, hearing boom through the walls. I just can't deal with that. I just can't deal with that. There's a lot of crap I can deal with in the world. Again, we're going to be very frugal. Silicon Dojo is going to be a very frugal place. We are going to have, folding chairs and folding tables. We're gonna have Coke in a tiny little refrigerator that somebody gave us. All right, there's a lot of ways that this is going to be low cost and frugal. But one thing I cannot abide by is boom. Can you imagine that? You're sitting there trying to code away, and you hear from some other office, bum, 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 bum. So anyways, that's the main deal killer. And then there's like another deal killer that wasn't quite terminal, but was close, where Lewis would actually probably enjoy this story, right? So I'm sitting there talking to the landlord about the price and about a couple of other things, and he said, he told me the price, then he was like, yeah, the price, month to month. And then I stopped, because I had told him I wanted a 1-year lease. And I was like, wait a minute, you said month to month? Why are you doing month to month? And he's like, well, I'm being nice to you. I'm like, how are you being nice to me by month to month? He's trying to say like he has this idea that if Silicon Dojo doesn't succeed, I can just walk away, because maybe I don't have enough money for the rent. Which is a very bizarre thing. And I'm like, well, no, I was thinking about a year lease. A year lease. Again, remember with contracts protect both sides. And then I started talking with him more, and he's like, well, we're renovating the building. We want to do some other things with the building. And so I can definitely give you until the end of the year. I was like, what? Wait a minute. So in order to go in there, I'd have to break the lease here, which means I'd have to pay a couple of months on this, which is fine if I'm getting a lease there. But then I could get there, and then by the end of the year, maybe they need the room back. And we got on this really weird thing where it's like, well, if you start in July, then I can give you a year lease, but I might not need the room. And I'm just like, how do I build on that? How do I build on that? So you may or may not allow me to continue renting the room that my business is in. And again, this is one of those things, going out and looking for real estate or whatever is really exciting and sexy when you're a new entrepreneur. Have you been doing this for a while? Like, no, I want to find a place. I want to put my business in there. I want to sign a lease, and then I don't want to worry about this crap until, 2 or 3 months before the lease is over. So anyways, yeah, they were going to give me a month-to-month lease as I sat there listening to somebody else's bass. So, oh well. The good part is, though, I can do math. The nice part about all this is I can do math. And so I looked at how much they were charging me. Again, I thought it was 1,000 square feet, but it's only 700 square feet. So the amount that they were charging me for 700 square feet is actually, mid-market around here. There's a lot of other places I can definitely get less expensive and it won't go boom. I can actually get a lease. So anyways, we're going to be looking for some place with a lease. So again, good questions to ask. When a landlord tells you, I'm going to give you month to month, just do realize, think about where your business actually is. But sometimes month to month can be good. Again, if I could have had month to month on this room, that actually wouldn't be a bad deal. That's one of the reasons I got a 6-month lease, because I know I'll probably break it or come close to breaking it, right? So month to month might be good. Again, if you have a startup company, if you really are, you're like, okay, we're gonna throw ourselves into this for 90 days or 180 days or whatever. We're really gonna try to make it successful. And if we create a product and if we get funding, then we can buy the entire damn building. And if not, we can go away. Like in that circumstance, month to month is good. Again, to be clear, when you have a war chest, when you're already in the black, when you already have interest, when you already have people coming in, it's like no, month to month is, yeah, that's not doing me any favors. So, anyways, some things to be thinking about. The real world of business. So anyways, let's get to the question of the day. Again, trying to do these question and answers. If you want to ask me a question that I will answer during one of these videos, put your question down in the comment section down below. More or less every day I go through, I take a look at the questions, I pick one that I think is going to be interesting, and then I answer that particular question. So this is an interesting question. Mainly because I don't really know what the hell the answer is. TLDR? What? Why are you answering a question you don't know the answer to? Well, I figure I'm going to be like Geerling. Geerling's really successful right now. He deals with Ansible and all these little Raspberry Pi projects. And he'll always say, can you use an NVIDIA graphics card on a Raspberry Pi? And 16 minutes later in the video, he'll say no. Anyways, he's getting a lot of views, so I might as well copy the people being successful currently on YouTube. But this is one of those questions where I want to answer this, or I want to bring this question up that I'm not going to be able to answer, just because it is one of those kind of slightly unanswerable questions. So this is coming from Prince Priceless. Okay, I will shorten my wuestion. Question. So he had a book before. He had a book, and I didn't get to the book. Because if you send me a book, I'm not going to know what to do with it. Anyways, how do I get better at problem solving for coding? I can understand code once my tutor helps me write it, but can't do any one of the homework problems successfully. For game design, any help, please? So in the book this particular person wrote before, apparently, again, words have meaning. They're trying to become a game designer. Here's why I'm cautious with those words, is because he says that he wants to be a game designer, and I think that's one of those things I'm kind of like, are you sure? You're in the training program to be a game designer. It does not necessarily mean you actually want to be a game designer. And so one of the big questions that comes up, whatever I'm meeting people in person or whether I did the Skype meetings or whatever else, is this whole question about motivation. Eli, how do I become motivated? And I think the answer is you have to find out why you're motivated, and you have to understand why what you are doing is going to get you to the end result that you want. So in a couple of days here, I'm going to be doing a Twilio seminar. So with the IoT devices, the IoT training you want to do here at Silicon Dojo, a useful thing for people to understand is how to use communication systems and protocols beyond IPv4, right? And so SMS is a terrific way for your IoT devices to do communication. And Twilio, basically, they have an API. That's what their business model is. They do SMS and voice and email. A lot of these kind of notification infrastructure as a service type deals. Anyways, I spent the entire morning this morning trying to create a little snippet of Twilio code, and I was banging my head into the wall because unfortunately, when you go to Twilio's documentation, the documentation that Twilio literally sends you to in order to figure out how to specifically do their code literally says this information is outdated. I'm not even lying. It ain't even a joke. You're sitting there looking at this code sample, and up on the top in this red bar, it says this SDK is outdated. And I'm like, look, I'm on your platform. I've already created an account with you. I'm in your help papers for exactly how to do this thing. And literally, the Twilio documentation for how to set up and support Twilio services literally states that it's outdated. So anyways, I spent many hours this morning trying to figure out how to make this crap work, because even the documentation that does exist, it doesn't actually tell you how to do what you need to do, and some of it is just at cross purposes and the whole 9 yards. Anyways, 3 or 4 hours later, I figured out how to make the damn thing work, and I was able to send text messages. Yay! But here's the interesting question there is, how do you bottle that type of motivation? How do you bottle the willingness to sit there for 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 50 hours, 200 hours, trying to create a project that, frankly, at the end of the day, may not work? And I'm not really fully sure what the answer to that question is. And I think one of the big problems that I see with a lot of folks out there is that they want to be externally motivated, right? So whenever I talk about my technology career, you will notice I will talk about my motivations, and most of my motivations didn't have a damn thing to do with default gateways, right? Again, when I was 20-something years old and I became the regional support engineer, I really liked having a direct line to the travel department. Flying all over the country on the company's dime to some pretty cool places was an awesome thing. I liked, as a young 20-year-old, being in the room with people that had been doing their jobs almost as long as I had been alive. And I was actually a decision maker in that room. That might not have been a wise idea on their part, but I was the most qualified tech person they had, right? Anyways, all right, there's the value there. Again, I've talked about that with YouTube. I've liked, again, traveling all over the world. I've liked the freedom that's given me. I've liked the money. I've liked the benefits, a whole bunch of this other stuff, right? And so, as I've talked about many times, it's not specifically that I'm infatuated with being a technology professional. I'm not passionate about being a technology professional. It's just, it happens to be what I'm shockingly good at. I fit in a niche within this niche that most people can't be good at. It gives me a lot of the benefits that I want, and so that's what makes me motivated. Again, I think about one of my main motivations, one of my honest, real motivations, is I like being in the room. Right, you will hear all of these stories where I'm in the room, where I'm talking about the people that I talked with, or basically the people that I listen to. There is something about being in the room I just enjoy. I like to see how the world operates. And the fact of the matter is, in the real world, if you're not doing something interesting, nobody gives a damn that you exist, and you sure as hell ain't going to get into the room. So you need some kind of key. And that key is your career, or that key is what you're doing. That's what gets you into the room, right? When I was the MCSE young technology person, I was in the boardroom because I was the most qualified. Again, even I would say that was probably a dumb idea. Again, when I was a consultant, I was sitting there and dealing with CEOs, and what I found very interesting was understanding how their businesses worked. Again, talking about employees, talking about businesses, talking about facilities, talking about regulations, talking about taxes. I found all that fascinating, and all I had to do to get that information was to run some cable and do some configurations or whatever. Again, doing the YouTube stuff. It's great to having been able to travel and talk with CEOs and have a lot of the conversations that I've had that I wouldn't have as just a normal sysadmin or whatever else. When I sit here and I look at creating Silicon Dojo, one of the things that I'm most interested with Silicon Dojo is for that 5% of the time where I can sit down with other executives, I can sit down with other business owners, I can sit down with other education leaders and just sit there and have a freaking conversation, right? That is what makes me motivated. And again, when I tell you, it's 5% of the time. 95% of the time is all the stuff that you have to do in order to get to whatever that 5% is that you find valuable, right? And so when I think about being a technology professional, one of the big things I think about is what are my external motivations for wanting to be a technology professional? And these are the things that come down the pike. And again, as I say, if I had started out younger, there's probably a lot of different things I could have wound up doing. Just how my life is, just how my career has gone, with my age group and everything else. I happen to be a technology professional. I now have enough experience as a technology professional. I really don't want to start over again. Again, one of the things the young people don't seem to want to grasp is all jobs are jobs. A job is a job is a job is a job is a job. You can work in different environments. You can have different customers and clients. There's different stuff like that. But at the end of the day, all jobs are cogs. Everybody's a cog. if you embrace your inner cog, you will be a much happier individual. And so that's one of the problems that I see with a lot of these people that are asking, like, Eli, how do I get motivation? And the reality is a lot of this motivation just has to come internally. And again, this is one of the places that people have lied to you, or they're just generally lying to the world, and it sounds good, and so everybody goes along with it, right? And one of the big lies that I've seen lately is, if you go out to the bookstore, Barnes & Noble or whatever else, and you go into the business section and you're looking for business books, one of the big things that's come up is this whole idea, this whole myth, the myth of leadership, right? And the myth of being able to motivate your employees and give your employees purpose and the whole 9 yards. And so there is this insanity nowadays that basically your boss not only has to figure out how to keep the business running, not only has to figure out how to manage you folks to make sure you actually are keeping the business going in a certain direction, doesn't just have to worry about their own kids and their all issues and all that. They have to present their own employees with some of this kind of intrinsic motivation, right? Come in today, do this code so that what? We can put a couple extra points to the bottom line. That's the reality. We can send out a couple of additional widgets. We can make sending out widgets a little bit more efficient. That's what business really is. But there's this myth that somebody else is going to give you the motivation for why you should wake up in the morning. And I have to tell you, it's not going to happen. Anybody that tells you they can do that for you is a liar. They are a liar. And this is why my YouTube channels have the glowing success that they have. Because nobody wants to admit this fact, right? You have to figure out the internal motivation inside of you. You have to figure out why it is that you want to do what that you're going to do. You have to figure out how much effort you're going to put in to actually trying to obtain these goals. And then you just have to sit there and grind it out and do it. And that's the thing with the technology profession. Again, I spent 3 hours this morning trying to figure out Twilio should not be that hard. There's no part of Twilio that should be that hard. It's like 10 lines of code. I'm not lying to you. It's 10 lines of code. You got like a secret and some kind of authorization code and something else, and then you plug. I mean, it's 10 lines of code. Should have taken me 10 minutes. Should have copy-pasted, did a couple of modifications, went, okay, now let's do something interesting. Instead, I spent 3-4 hours on a stupid-ass thing because Twilio doesn't update their own documentation. Twilio knows that their documentation is out of date. They just refuse to go through the steps to actually update the crap. But anyways, right? What gives me that motivation to sit there and do it? Again, I am a curious person. I like solving problems. I'm interested, again, since I'm doing this IoT stuff, I'm interested in trying to figure out how my IoT devices can communicate in ways other than the normal IP4 ways. Blase, 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 blase. But to try to give you that motivation, I don't know how to do it. I think about it back in the day. So back in the days when I used to do the emergency services stuff, I was sitting there talking to somebody who had been in the French Foreign Legion. That was a disturbing conversation. Just walk away from that conversation. That's a disturbing one. Anyways, the guy was talking about the modern French Foreign Legion and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things he said, in order to be a member of the French Foreign Legion, what he honestly believed, is that you should take somebody who wants to be a member of the French Foreign Legion, you should give them a puppy dog, you should give them a baseball bat. And basically, if they could bludgeon the puppy dog to death with a baseball bat, they should be allowed into the French Foreign Legion. If not, because of what the French Foreign Legion does. I know that sounds a little creepy and a little nasty there, but I think it's kind of an interesting psychological thing to be thinking about is sometimes, like, everybody wants to be so psychological nowadays. Everybody wants to be so therapeutic. Everybody has this idea like you can reprogram the brain. You can be anything. I really question that, to be honest with you. I think you can be successful. I think you can be significant. I think you can be important. There's a lot of things, valuable things that you can be, but I'm not sure that you can be anything. And there is that question. What has happened in somebody's life that they're willing to take a puppy dog and beat it to death with a baseball bat? And I think one of the things Instead of trying to dissect all the crap that has to go on in order to get to that point, just realize that there are some people out there that are willing to do that and are able to do that, and some people that are not. Again, I think about this with, you talk about being a police officer or a firefighter or even a truck driver, right? If somebody's thinking about being a truck driver, somebody will bring up, it's like, well, it takes a certain type of person to be a truck driver, right? Think about it. Being a truck driver is relatively simple, at least here in the United States. You go through 2 weeks of training. Most people around here know how to drive anyway. You then, take trucks from point A to point B. Don't get me wrong, backing it up's a bugger. Driving it from point A to point B is easy. The last 2 minutes of backing that damn thing into a warehouse, that sucks. But anyways, right? But you bring this up, and from a intelligence standpoint, almost anybody can probably be a truck driver. From a physical standpoint, almost anybody can be a truck driver. From an intelligence standpoint, almost anybody can be a truck driver. But it seems manifestly obvious that it takes a certain type of person to actually be a truck driver. To get in a truck and take a truck from point A to point B, 8 to 12 hours a day. Sometimes you're going cross country, sometimes you're doing all these other things, right? There's all this stuff that actually goes to being a truck driver. And so if you tell somebody, well, it takes a special type of person to be a truck driver, everyone will be like, yeah, of course it takes a special type of person to be a truck driver. It's not like everybody in the world is set up to be a truck driver. That's obvious. Tell me something not obvious, Eli. And then I'll say, well, it takes a certain type of person to be a technology professional. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, anybody can learn to code. No. All it takes in order to be a technology professional, you just gotta sit there and grind it out, and then anybody can do this stuff. It's like, wait a minute. It is manifestly obvious to be a truck driver, to be a garbage collector, to do many jobs that actually pay relatively decent money, but don't require a lot of education. It's manifestly obvious that those require a special type of person. But when you talk about coding or game development or sysadmin work or anything else, there's just this expectation that anybody can do it. It's like, no. Some people are set up to do it psychologically, and some people aren't. And so my concern here is this person sounds smart. This person sounds smart, but it doesn't sound like they want to be a game developer. Oh, they may be trying to be a game developer, but that's not the same thing as wanting to be a game developer. How do I get better at problem solving for coding? Well, there's a lot of answers to that one. I can understand code once my tutor helps me write it, but can't do any one of the homework problems successfully for game design. Any help, please? So this person is in an academic program. They are getting education, they are getting tutoring, they're most likely going through with some other cohort of people. If he's saying that he's not able to do it, you can probably ascertain that other people are going to the program and that they can do it. So they are being given problems that should be, right about whatever their current training level is, and they can't do any one of the homework problems. What this tells me is that you don't want to do the homework problems. I spent 3 to 4 hours on Twilio this morning because I give a damn about Twilio. Because in a couple of days I have to do a seminar on Twilio, and I really need to be able to make that code sing. So if you're telling me that you can understand it when the tutor explains it to you, but then when you're sitting there and you're actually looking at the problems, you can't do any of them. What that honestly sounds like is you're not taking the 2 frickin' minutes to figure out what you're being asked and actually solve for that problem. Which means it doesn't actually sound like you're that interested in game development, which means you probably want to go and find another degree program. And again, when I say this kind of thing, I'm really not trying to be snarky anymore. Again, this is the family-friendly version of Eli. Again, Silicon Dojo, conversation culture. It's not cancel culture. It's not consequences culture. It's conversation culture. When I go, brah, people get a little bit scared of me. But, the thing that I think about with this is that there are so many people that are not built to be technology professionals. Like I had this one employee. I really did. I had this one employee, a good person generally. Crap employee, but they all were. They were either crap employees or I was a crap boss. Or 2 things could be true at the same time. I don't know. They were good people. They were great human beings. Anyways, one of my employees, it was so sad. no technical competence whatsoever. Whatsoever. I would not have allowed this person to replace the set of batteries in my remote control at home. I don't know what it was about this person, but just the crap wouldn't go into his head. It was just like, you shoot ideas at him. The OSI model, bing, default gateways, bing, like anything you try to explain to the guy, just like went in one side and out the other. You're not even sure it went in. He kind of like fucking like went off his forehead or something like that. But the curious part was, I sat there, and he had been my employee for like 3 months. I gave him like over 3 months. Because I didn't need the best employees in the world. I didn't need rock stars. I didn't need ninjas. I didn't need people to do the damn job. Anyways, after about 3 months, I was talking to him. I'm like, what the hell is going on? You don't have any place in the tech world. This is not being insulting or anything else. You do have skills. You do actually have valuable skills. He was very good with people. He was just crap with technology. And I remember he looked at me and was like, yeah, but Eli, I'm $40,000 into debt for this IT degree, going to one of these colleges to get a degree in IT. And I thought it was kind of like this interesting thing of this guy is in debt. So he decided to go into this college program. He decided to go into debt in a career that he was just not competent to deal with. And now he's the problem is he's getting to the end of it, and he has all of this debt that he has to pay off. He has gotten this education, but he does not have the wherewithal to actually be a successful technology professional. It's just not part of him. And before anybody asks, yeah, I did keep an eye on him for a couple of years afterwards, and no, he did not become the next Bill Gates, right? And so I think this is just something for you to sit there and consider, is if you are sitting there and day in, day out, you do not have the motivation, you do not have the excitement, you do not have the discipline, you don't have anything to do the work in front of you, then maybe that's not the work that you should be doing. There are a lot of very valuable jobs in the world. There's a lot of very valuable jobs in our society. Do not believe the lie that you have to be a technology professional, that somehow being a technology professional, this will give you purpose in life, and all of a sudden the roads will be paved with gold. That's not how it is. This is a profession. This is a profession that many times, not always, is valuable. That many times will give you respect. That many times has a lot of wonderful perks. Many times. Again, to be clear, not always. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should be part of this particular industry. And so it's really important that you go home and you sit there and you think about it and you figure out, is this what you actually want to do? You are trying to be a game developer. That has nothing to do with wanting to be a game developer. And again, words have meaning. When you think of being a game developer, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the benefits, whatever those benefits are, or are you thinking about the actual job, sitting there and coding and doing everything else? I think at the end of the day, what you're going to find is you don't actually want to be a game developer. You have sold yourself into a lie. And as I say, you can lie to everybody else in the world, but it is unwise to lie to yourself. You are the one that's going to do the most damage to yourself at the end of the day. So I would think about that. I mean, beyond that, you may have some kind of learning. I mean, okay, all that aside, okay, let's say you're a neurotypical human being. That's the advice for the neurotypical human beings. Another problem that you may have, maybe you have a learning disability. Again, I know I have a lot of viewers that are from other countries, and so things like dyslexia and other learning disabilities definitely may not be diagnosed where you are. I had a lot of friends of mine when I was going to school. I mean, again, not that long ago, that had learning disabilities that were not diagnosed. Again, I wasn't diagnosed for anything. It's a little slow. I'll figure it out. What? Anyways. So one of the things is, if you have a learning disability, one of the things that you may need to do is may need to find tools to help you actually be able to do things like understand problems, like with reading. Like I had a girlfriend of mine years obviously ago that was dyslexic, and one of the things that she was talking about, like when she saw a cat, she did not see a cat. It's like how her brain broke a cat up into parts. Sounded creepy as hell, but it's like she saw a head of a cat and a tail of a cat and the legs of the cat and the body of the cat. And so for her, like when I look and I see a cat, I go cat. when she looks and see a cat, she says head and tail and body and legs. And then she has to process what the hell she's actually seeing and then go, oh, that's a cat. Again, I don't have the ability to intuit, so okay, right? But that was one of the big problems. So she had a learning disability. She needed help. So like when she would try to read, it was kind of like she would say like the words were almost dancing, the words were almost moving, and so she needed special help in order to be able to understand the information being presented. Again, one of the problems with the modern education world is again, for most education, like at least within the school itself, it's equal education. And one of the interesting arguments, again, we get into social justice, is equal education is not necessarily a good thing. If you have 30 students in a classroom and they are all getting equal education, that means the dumb student is getting the same education as the really smart student. The dyslexic student is getting the same education as the person with a photographic memory, right? That's equal education. And so one of the big problems that we have is education has been created in most of the Western societies, most of the modern world, based off of this concept of equality, right? Everybody gets the same textbook. Everybody gets the same test. Everybody gets the same quizzes. Everybody's expected to do essays. Now think about it again from a practical standpoint. If you're trying to figure out whether a student understands a subject, is it best that they write an essay, or is it best that they do something verbal? You may have some students that are better at explaining things verbally. Doing oral tests might be better for them, and you have other students that might be better at writing the test. But again, in equal education, everybody is forced to learn the exact same way and to present their findings the exact same way. And so an issue that you may have, look, I'm putting it out there. I'm taking this seriously. I'm putting it out there. I'm not sure I believe it with you. But one of the problems that you may have is you may have some kind of learning disability. And so the equal education that you're getting, you may not be receiving it the same way other people receive it. So if you're finding that when the tutor explains something to you that you understand it, one of the things that you may try is, what if you have a family member read to you what the practical problem is, right? So again, if you're reading and the words are kind of dancing, your brain can't put it into place. Maybe simply, not even having a tech professional do it, maybe simply having a family member simply sit there and read to you what the problem is, that might actually be able to help you be able to process what's going on. The other things to be thinking about, again, if you're looking at these problems and they get too complicated, one of the big things is to break the problems down, figure out what's relevant, figure out what's irrelevant, and just do little bullet points. Okay, so I have a sprite that has to move at this speed from point A to point B, and if it's hit by blaster fire, it will explode into this sprite that will look like this. You then take that, you make that into a little bit more pseudocode, you then go and then you actually write the code for the thing and try to process it that way. So there's just some things to think about. I don't know. When I used to be very snarky and I used to tell people to go be florists, again, so many people will get insulted by that. How dare you tell me to go be a florist? But it really is true. I'm not telling you to go be a florist, but maybe technology isn't your specialty. All right, that's a reality. Again, think about it with myself. I wanted to do cool things in emergency services. I got a gimpy ass wrist. I was in the Army, I screwed up my wrist. I got a medical discharge. There was things that I wanted to do. There's things that I was fully trained to do. But I don't know. The older I get, I think the more thankful I was booted out of the Army. It's one of those weird things. Like when you're young and you get booted out of the Army, like you have all this stuff going through your head, and you're like, "Rawr!" And there's like this weird thing. Like as you get older, you're like, "That was probably good. I can still use my hand." Hey, if I had stayed in the Army and I continue to damage my wrist, there's a good possibility at this point in time I would not be able to use my hand right now. But I can still use my hand, so that's a win. So one of the things just to be thinking about is sometimes when you go through life and you find out for whatever reason you cannot go forward, whether it's an injury, whether you just don't actually want to do the work or whatever else, that's the opportunity to find something else that you might be a hell of a lot more successful in. I see so many people get in the technology world. They get into debt. They drive themselves insane in the technology world, and they just have no business being here. I have no business being a surgeon. Nobody wants Eli to be a surgeon. Nobody, right? Imagine if I like was like, no, I'm gonna go to a surgery boot camp and I'm gonna be cutting out people's hearts. That would be bad. That would be bad. Never have heart surgery from Eli the computer guy. Run away, run away, right? But think about that, right? People get these ideas in their heads about what they're supposed to do or whatever else, and many times they just don't actually have the wherewithal to do it, and that's what I would think with this. I know it's probably not the answer you want, but again, unless you've got a learning disability, I'd say you might want to find another degree program. But that's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts. And for the rest of you out there, if you're waiting for some amazing leader, boss to give you the motivation to do whatever it is that you need in life, and that's a lie too. It's so fun, again, having been a boss, having coffee and beer with bosses and CEOs and the rest of it. It's amazing how much crap people dump on bosses. It's like this weird, to tell you the truth, what it feels like is that parents have done such a crappy job raising kids for the past few decades that kids, young people, they still need the things that parents were supposed to offer. And so since the parents didn't offer it, they're now dumping all this psychological baggage onto their bosses. And, your boss probably has kids. Your boss probably is already doing a pretty crappy job raising their own kids. So they probably don't want you as surrogate kids. So trying to go for them for this whole, there's this weird thing, you're supposed to give your employees meaning. You're supposed to the motivation. No, it's again, with Silicon Dojo. If we ever get to the point that we have employees, we get to get a big enough space where we can have employees in the whole 9 yards. Again, I want people to come in that are already self-motivated for education. You're already self-motivated for technology. You're motivated for technology. You're already self-motivated for education. You're already self-motivated to do your own independent study and learning, right? So the motivation that I bring as the owner of Silicon Dojo is to show how you working for Silicon Dojo is doing impressive things within the sector that you want to do something significant in, right? So again, let's say you want to do technology education. And so you could go, theoretically, you could work for Pluralsight, you could work for INE, you could work for CBT Nuggets, you could go work for a college. There's a lot of, as a technology education professional, there are a lot of opportunities. Right? Why you want to be a technology education professional, that is your business. I don't want to get anywhere near that. That is about your mommy, your daddy, your military experience, your whatever else, right? But if you decide to come to work for Silicon Dojo, the motivation that I present is, hey, look, remember that kid that came in, 6 or 7 months ago that was going to graduate high school, had absolutely no idea what they were going to do. They had abusive parents, were going to kick him out of the house. Hey, Bob, guess what? That kid just got a $50,000 a year job with Lockheed Martin. Right? That's motivation. If you want to be a tech educator and you're being told the work that you did with this particular disadvantaged person, they actually now have a real shot at being successful in the world, that is the motivation to present, right? Hey, guess what? We have been doing so well and the system is scaling. We can see what we've already done for the students that we're dealing with. We are going to increase the head count by 25% because our system is that efficient. And so I really want everybody to pat themselves on the back. You've been doing such a great job. We are going to be able to help 25% more people every month. Right? That's the kind of motivation to bring to the table. Why you should be a tech educator? I don't know. Crap you could do. Am I really saying that this is going to be the most important thing for the entire world? No, right? If you go home at the end of the day and you drink yourself into a stupor, is working for Silicon Dojo going to give you the purpose in life you've been looking for? Probably not. You know, if you're depressed every day and you keep wanting to swallow a bottle of pills, do I think coming in and working with teenagers to make LEDs blink, do I really think that's going to change your life? Probably not. That kind of motivation, you have to figure out why you want to show up to do the work. And if you can't figure that out, it's going to be a tough road for you. So anyways, there you go. Hey, just because I'm not snarky doesn't mean I'm going to stop being honest. That's how I see the world. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about motivation and all that? Put in the comment section down below. If you want your question answered on the Daily Blob Show, put your question down in the comments. Again, I go through every day and try to find one that I think is interesting to answer, and I will try to answer it. You may not like the answer, but as somebody that's been doing tech since 1996, I will give you the answer that I understand. So put that down there. If you would like to support Silicon Dojo and everything that we do, and hopefully be able to rent a bigger space that doesn't go bomb, 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 bomb. Think about throwing some money down at donorbox.org/ETCG. Again, the Silicon Dojo is free to the end user. Hands-on technology education doesn't mean it's free. Somebody still has to pay for this stuff. So if you want to support what I'm doing, think about throwing some money down there. What else is going on? If you want a one-on-one meeting with me, I do one-on-one meetings here in Asheville, North Carolina. If you go to Silicon Dojo on the right-hand side, there's a link for the one-on-one meetings. You can click on that, and we can have you can come here and we can have a talk anywhere between 1 to 3 hours. I've had people come from Augusta, Georgia, and Raleigh, North Carolina. So about 3 to 3.5 hours one way. So apparently that's valuable to people. I've had many people come from Charlotte, which is 2 hours away. So I don't know, if you want that, that's available. And the meetups, I am doing these classes, at least one class a week. Last week I did Easy Computer Vision, showing you how to use Azure cognitive services in order to actually have Azure tell you what's in a picture. I showed you that last week. And then this week we're going to be doing Twilio. And I'm going to be working my ass off to get this Twilio. This was supposed to be simple. It was supposed to be so simple. It was like, wow, that whole computer vision thing, that took a little bit more time than I was expecting. So this week, I'm just going to do Twilio. I spent 4 hours this morning banging my head against the wall. Like, Twilio. Your documentation literally states that it's out of date. Could you have somebody write some new documentation, please? That's our thing with technology. What you have to understand about technology is it's all command lines. You type in what you're supposed to type in, crap works. You don't type in what you're supposed to type in, it doesn't work. So if you have documentation that no longer matches what currently needs to be inputted, that's just incredibly frustrating. But anyway, so I do these things. Again, like we're going to talk about like for IoT and other devices, so with SMS is really cool. So you can have your computer program or your IoT device or whatever else use Twilio in order to be able to send SMS messages out. Beyond that, you can actually have people respond to the SMS messages, and then with that response, you can then trigger things to happen on servers or IoT devices or any of that type of thing. So that is the seminar that we will be doing on Thursday. So if you're in the Asheville area, sign up for the meetup for that one. And I guess that's about it. So I'm gonna go cry into my coffee. There's a big room. There's a nice room. It's like, have you ever seen that? You're like, it's a room. It's so pretty. And then you get there and you're like, crap, it's not gonna work. Bomb, 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 bomb. That's just not gonna work. So anyways, I'm gonna go cry into my coffee. And I'll see y'all the next video.